I didn't know you were going to be in Marty Supreme. Had no idea. I'm watching it, and you're great in it. You're great, because I think one of the things that people get wrong a lot in movies and TV is sort of high finance, high powered money. They get it wrong a lot, and I completely believed you were that guy. And we've all seen that guy. That guy exists. He's out there. He's got the wife that he's kind of, you know, letting her run her own little fund, or, whatever, like cute little like sidebar hustle she thinks she's doing. And meanwhile, he's like, yeah, whatever, fuck it, and you were great. And you got to work with one of my great oldest friends, GP, Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, what a great debut for you.
I met Gwyneth 3 years ago on the set of Shark Tank. She brought Goop as a product. Obviously, she's an entrepreneur, and she became a guest shark. We shot for 3 days, so I got to know her then. And then, of course, I saw a different side of her when we were working together on Marty Supreme, because at that time she was full-time entrepreneurship, not acting at all, and she came back, and it came back to her in 2 seconds, obviously. But the character, Milton Rockwell, I understood that guy. There's no question about it. And I, spent a long time with Josh and Ronnie, who wrote it, saying, guys, we got to change some things here. And we did. They accommodated me.
Oh my God, dude. I bet you, see, it just had the feel. I want to know a little bit about that, because it had the feel. I was like, how did these safety Brooklyn, beret wearing dudes understand this guy? And clearly, okay, so what was your contribution? I'm dying to hear this.
So they called me up. They kind of avoided the whole agent system, and just Josh just called me and said, look, we're looking for a real asshole, and you're it. And I said, okay, I've heard that before. I've heard that 20 years ago from Mark Burnett when he was casting for Shark Tank. So I don't, it's no insult to me. I get it. But I'm not coming down to New York. I'm in the middle of my holidays here, sitting on my dock, watching the ducks float by. If you guys are so serious, I'll send a plane. You can get on it and meet me right on the dock tomorrow morning. And that's what they did. And they were serious. And we read these lines together. There was an event that occurred, I should tell you about, Rob, that kind of set me up for this. They sent me the PDF on an email 3 days earlier. And I went into town and got it printed into 2 telephone book size scripts, because I wanted to read the whole thing. I forgot about it. There were a lot of people up at my place. We were partying a lot. And one day, this guy gets up named Gene McBurney at 5 a.m. to watch the sunrise. And he takes the script and he decides, he doesn't know what it is. He reads it from 5 till like 9:30 in the morning when I get up. And he looks at me and he said, what sick fuck wrote this? Have you ever read a story like this? I said, I haven't read it yet, Gene. He said, this is insane. I couldn't stop turning the pages. You're this guy for sure, Milton Rockwell. But whoever wrote this are very sick puppies. You should know that. And that was, to me, a random outcome of just a guy who knew nothing about the project, about the story. It was such a compelling script that's kind of really what sold me on the whole thing.
Yeah. It's a great script. Do you remember any notes that you had saying, hey, in this world that I've observed, I think he would do X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I kept it because it's kind of like, it's kind of a bit of folklore now. I told both those guys, look, I don't care if it's today or back in 1952. I would never let this guy screw me over this way. This would never happen. He's my wife's cheating with him. He's being an absolute asshole to me. You think I would let a guy do that to me? If I was Milton Rockwell or if I'm Kevin O'Leary, it would never happen. And they said, oh, what would you do? I say, well, first of all, I would bring tremendous uncertainty into his life. And the way I would do it is I'd say, look, I was born in 1601. I'm a vampire. I've seen many, many, many Marty Mausers. The ones that crossed me are still here, and they're miserable. In perpetuity, forever miserable. And I think those guys freaked when they heard that. They said, that's crazy. I said, why is it crazy? What's wrong with that? Maybe I'm a vampire. Have you ever thought of that? And they went with it, but I wanted to go farther. I wanted to bite his neck, and we wrote that ending, and we did the prosthesis.
What?
And A24 freaked out. That the idea was that 40 years later, Marty's back selling shoes, but he's wildly successful. He's franchised the shoe store. He takes his granddaughter to a Tears for Fears concert, and he's aged. He's in his late 60s. And Tears for Fears is performing Everybody Wants to Rule the World. So we're now back in the right time zone. But I come out unaged. I'm a vampire, and I rip into his neck. That's the last frame in the film. I love that ending. And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it.
Wait,
A24 wouldn't do it.
Did you shoot that ending? You did the prosthesis, but
we did the prosthesis. Yeah. I got the digital teeth. They really debated it, and the compromise was the I'm a Vampire line in Tokyo. And a lot of those things, like the little things, my wife was listening to this script, and the original line with Gwyneth was, "Oh, you used my Q-tip." That's BS. Who would do that? You'd use the razor, make it dull, and I'd cut my face. That Linda's contribution, my wife's contribution to the script, which actually is a good part, it made sense. But the point was, we wrote it and kept writing it, and those guys are very flexible, and they kind of morphed it into even a worse guy, if that's even possible. And I think that's why the movie works, at least from the Milton Rockwell perspective.
Yeah, he works because it's not a caricature of rich, powerful asshole.
No, it's the real asshole, 100% quality.